Welcome back to the Jacked Racing YouTube channel. Welcome back to the garage with our soon-to-be probably only one race car. We're in the process of right now getting this one ready to go. Looks like we might have someone lined up to take it home and make it their own. It's a good car. I'm really going to be sad to see it go. We had a lot of fun, and we just got it set up right, so they might have got lucky on that. Hopefully they like the way we set it up. So we went ahead and pulled my seat out, got the seat belts out over here. We still got the seat in the truck. I got to take that out pretty soon here too. This thing's ready to go. We're going to load it up, put it on the trailer, and then we're going to take the truck and put it more in the middle of the garage so we actually have room to work on it. And then I think we're going to start taking body panels off so we can start working on stuff. We're going to take probably the front clip off right now, go through the front suspension, take all our measurements, make sure it's kind of got the setup we prefer in it. Everyone sets their cars up differently. There's not necessarily a right and wrong way to do it. I mean, you can do it wrong, I guess, but a lot of it's just personal preference. We kind of want to put something similar to what we had on my old modified from back in the day, because it was a metric front clip just like this is. So hopefully it will translate. I know the tracks are a little different, but we can make adjustments for that. So we're going to get everything moved here. We're going to play musical cars, get the trailer hooked up, get this thing out of here, and then we're going to get to work. So let's get going. This should be fun. We're about to put the car on the trailer, and I just took the seat out, so now I get to drive on a bucket. Hopefully I don't fall off of it and embarrass myself here, but we're going to go load it up and take this thing away. Alright, it's all loaded up for the last time here, hopefully. Now we can get the truck out, spin it around, and put it right in the middle of the garage here so we have more room to work. Every time I let off, get your back end over.
Okay, I can push it from there.
Yeah, it doesn't like to idle.
We'll turn the idle up a little bit.
It needs something, yeah. Well, we got all of the old vinyl off from the previous owners. They actually had the exact same number kit that my compact did. It was just a 99 instead of a 00, but it's all taken off now. We're going to pull off the front clip. Kind of thinking about what we might want to do with a paint job here. Obviously red and black is going to happen, but probably just not with this exact design. So we might do a little bit of creative work, but it'll probably be something kind of close to this. Alright, front clip's off. It's going to be really easy to work on all the suspension stuff right here because there's nothing in the way now. This is much nicer than with the front wheel drive where I couldn't take the body off. Get a look at the front end here too. We were hoping there was some bracing in front of the radiator, and there is. It's not the straightest piece of metal ever, but it'll do, I suppose. And it's nice to see there's some sort of homemade air duct here to get some air up into the radiator.
So one of the very first things you want to do when setting up the chassis is to establish the ride height, and that is the distance between the ground and the chassis or the frame. And the rules specify a minimum ride height of 6 inches. So what I've done is place some wood blocks of different dimensions at each of the 4 corners of the car, and then I lower the frame onto that, and then what I'll do is I'll hold that position and set up the rest of the car around that ride height. But while I was doing that, I found that I could not get the ride height on the rear that I was interested in getting. And so I started taking the suspension apart for the rear, pulled out a spring. Nothing exotic here. All you do is, because this car has jacking bolts, you basically unturn that bolt to relieve the pressure on the spring, and then you can take it out. And what we'll probably do is just install some shorter springs so that the chassis will go lower than it did before. Okay, next step. I have pulled the shock absorbers on every corner. And one thing I highly recommend is just write everything down so you know what you've got and where it goes, and label every part. Okay, it's easy to do, saves you a lot of time later on.
Alright, I'm back up here. It's been a couple of days. I finally went and got a haircut. I look a little less homeless now. But thanks, Dad, for getting some video clips. Dad's been busy the last couple of days tearing stuff apart. As you can see, the truck's pretty much sitting on those blocks. I got shocks, springs, everything out of it. We've been getting a lot of good information about, you know, how they had this thing set up and how we were going to want to set it up. We thought, you know, we were just going to spend the next couple of weeks here tearing stuff apart. But sometimes things don't go according to plan. This is actually not for a bad reason, though. So I wish I would have seen this a couple of days ago, but apparently there's some open track time at Auburndale Speedway on Thursday. It is Tuesday right now. Truck's, you know, pretty torn apart here, but we can put it back together. So while we have a chance to take it out on the track and see what we're doing on a non-race weekend, we definitely want to take advantage of that. So now we're going to spend the next 2 days putting it back together just to get out and get some laps in. Going to kind of leave a lot of it the way it is. We got some scales coming in the mail, so we're going to get all that data after we take it to the track, which is kind of backwards, but we'll get a baseline of where we're at. I'll get to get a couple laps so I kind of understand how this thing's going to work, so when I go to race there, it won't be like totally blind for me. So now it's pretty much a mad dash to put everything back together and get it track ready in about 2 days to then probably take more stuff back off. But that's how race cars work, so let's get busy putting it back together. So I haven't 100% decided what we're going to do with the paint job yet, but this red is not quite the red I usually use. I know that sounds petty, but while I have this off, I might as well go ahead and paint it. So for now, I'm just going to do everything in black. The back half of the car is gloss black already, and I kind of like that. So I'm just going to paint this gloss black real quick. Gonna have to paint the doors and the roof another time. For now, it's fine. We're just getting ready for a practice day. It's no big deal what it looks like. So gonna paint this. I'll get everything black. I'll put the numbers on pretty much the same as we had on the bomber car, and then I'll figure out some kind of fun design to do with the kind of a darker red. I like that. If you remember the old Old Spice Tony Stewart car that he used to run, that's the kind of red I like, that deep kind of metallic red. So I'm gonna see if I can find some vinyl like that and put a design on. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. I know there's way better ways to paint a car, but it is just a race car. Especially this piece. This is probably going to get beat up at some point, let's be real, especially racing on quarter miles. So a little bit of rattle can paint will do just fine. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's going to look nice and sharp and match the rest of the car. I'm glad we got the matte off the front too. If we're going to go with black, I'd rather it be gloss all over and not some matte and some gloss. So we're going to look real good here in a little bit. Alright, we're back in here putting everything back together that we already took apart so we can go to the track here pretty soon. Right now, we've pulled off the shocks and the springs that were on here. We didn't really know what was in here when we got the truck, so kind of wanted to take everything out and just kind of see what we were working with. You know, everyone's going to set up a race car differently, so nothing, I mean, there's really no right or wrong way to do it. It's all personal preference, so we're just putting in what we prefer. We're putting in this shorter spring here instead of this taller spring, and the shocks we think are going to actually be pretty okay for what we want right now. Obviously we'll see how it handles on the track and what we want to change in the future, but to get started I think this is going to be a good starting spot. We've already got the right rear back together. We're putting the left rear back on right now, and then we're going to go put the front end back together. So I know I just said we weren't going to worry about the seat for right now, but this seat came out really easy. It came out in like 3 minutes, so we decided if we're going to do it, let's just do it. I can get comfortable in the car with my seat the way it's going to be set up. So we kind of got it in the right position now. We just got to get a couple of holes drilled, maybe put a brace in on the back, and it should bolt in really easy. Nice and comfy. It's like driving a Cadillac in here. Look at all that room. Most race cars are not that spacious. And there we go. Just like that, the seat is in. Got my leg guards on there. Need some good padding in case I ever get a little roughed up in this thing. Now all we gotta do is adjust the belts to fit right, since there's different mounting points than in the bomber car. But yeah, it wasn't too bad as far as seats go. It was more difficult to put this seat into the bomber than it was to put it into this thing. So I mean, we had to drill some holes and do some of that stuff just because there was a Butler seat in the truck and there's a Kirky seat in here now, so it's just always a little bit different, but not too bad. I'd say that's quite the nice little cockpit setup we got going on here. We've also got the rear end back all the way down on both sides, so the rear end's good to go. Now we just got to get this front end all back together, which shouldn't take too long. Once we get the truck back on its wheels, we can go get that freshly painted front clip and put that on. And then it's just going to be some little things, adjusting some of the engine settings, checking the timing, all that kind of stuff, and we're going to be about ready to go. All right, it's the next day. We got one day to put this thing back together so we can take it to the track tomorrow. I think we're in good shape though. We got a lot done yesterday. We've got the left front all back together right now. Working on putting the right front back together right now. Just got to put the spring and the shock back on, and then we're going to go through and get some setup stuff, get all of our measurements. We got to do some little bit of engine tuning, and I think we'll be in pretty good shape by then. It's just a lot of little things. We got to put the cold air box back on. We got to adjust the seat belts. Just, you know, a bunch of little stuff that can add up and take some time, but not that we won't make it though. So we are going to be good to go. Hopefully tomorrow, break this thing in. So we got the seat fitted, we got the belts adjusted where they need to be. We've been kind of working on this too. We upgraded and got one of those Simpson hybrid devices. My old neck restraint was very old and had seen better days, so this is much more comfortable. We still need to adjust it a little bit, but other than that, the interior is pretty much ready to go. It's very comfortable compared to the last little car I had. And just like that, it's back on all four tires. We got the front suspension all put back together. We're about to get some measurements so we know exactly what we have going into a practice session, and then we can make adjustments from there. It'll be good to have a baseline just to know, where we start and then where we end up. We're not quite sure if everything is 100% the way we want it up here setup-wise, but that's what practice days are for. You figure it out. We have scales coming, but they're not going to be here in time, so we'll have to do it backwards. We'll have to kind of drive the car, then scale it, which is, not really ideal, but it'll work for now. All right, we got a lot of the little stuff knocked out now. We are going to check the timing, which means we get to fire it up, so I'll let you listen to that real quick. One of the big things we just wanted to check was to make sure that this water gauge works. We've kind of found that these crate motors are a little temperature sensitive. We blew one up like 10 years ago because we overheated it once. So now one of our biggest priorities with keeping the 602 alive is making sure the temperature gauge works. So that was a good thing off the checklist. We got the timing set. We're getting pretty close here. It's going to be not a whole lot left, just a couple of small things to button up. We got to put the body work back on. That's definitely important. But other than that, we're in pretty good shape to go tomorrow. So now that most of the work on the truck is done, let's get some other updates going here. You'll see there is an empty spot in the garage. Yes, the little bomber car is gone. We sold it within like 24 hours. Super lucky. That hardly ever happens with race cars. So the bomber car is off to a new home. It's going to keep racing at New Smyrna Speedway though, so we'll get to see it whenever we go out there. So that'll be fun to see how they do with it. I hope they do well. It's a good car. Hope it treats them right. I hope they treat it right. For everyone that had their name on the back of the bomber car, I'm going to find a spot for you all on the truck. You guys are all going to ride with me again for 2022. Very thankful for all the support, so we want to make sure we get everyone included again on the vehicle. Oh, it's starting to look like a race car now. We got the cold air box on there instead of that little tiny air filter. All we got to do really now is put this front clip on it, which the tools to do that are at my house, which is about 40 minutes from here. So that's going to be a tomorrow job. We'll finish that up, make sure everything's good to go, and head to the track. It's going to be super exciting. Hopefully you're excited to see it on the track. I can't wait to get behind the wheel of it and see what this thing feels like. Pretty sure we're going to learn a lot about the setup, just as much as I am the driving style tomorrow. So I think it's going to be a very educational day for us. I don't think we're going to be setting any track records, but I'm excited just to have an idea of what this thing's going to do. That way, going into the race season, we're way better prepared. Definitely getting the scales is going to help us too. So I'm going to end this video here. I'll pick it back up tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a track video. Those are always exciting, and I haven't got to post one in a long time due to my health. So very excited to even just get back to the track. It's awesome. I feel pretty much better. I'm not all the way better, but enough to be able to go to the track for a little bit. Can't wait. It's going to be super exciting, super fun. The family's here. It's going to be a great time. So like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you at the track tomorrow.